Alright, we are off. This is F-Zero Max League. This is a brand new hack by myself, Power Panda, and Zephyrum. Max League is a very clever acronym that stands for Mashups, Alternates, and Crossovers. So basically what this is, we've got one league so far, which is doing F-Zero 99 style remix courses. So we're taking two different courses or two different venues and putting them together into one track. This is my first time playing through all of it. So, like a smart person, I am going to do beginner. Never actually faced opponents on these tracks before. Hello, Valdov. Hello, Zephyrum. You ready to see my terrible F-Zero skills? Wow, on Mute City. This is what happens when you have people watch you for the first time. So I'm playing today on BSNES HD Mode 7, trying to make it look a little bit more like F-Zero 99 with our smooth backgrounds. This first course, as you can see, is Sand City. This is one of Zephyrum's creations. And it is putting together Sand Ocean and Mute City, if that wasn't obvious. This is one in which I had very little to do with it. This is almost all Zephyrum. But you can see he had a lot of fun with the backgrounds of mixing in the sand dunes with the Mute City buildings, did all of the palette work, and I think this track has a great flow. You'll be interested to know this is my first ever live stream. I've never had to check a chat while playing a track before. I don't know how people do it, and I am learning. Yes, clearly I'm banging for Super Sparks. Yep, that's it. We're gonna go for it. Waiting for that golden bumper to spawn any moment now. Now, a problem is, since I've spent so much time working on Vintage Velocity, I'm used to the Game Boy Advance style controls of drifting. It is really hard to go back to SNES. Keep trying to do the opposite shoulder button drift. Yeah, I love this section right here where it starts off with a straightaway with the sand on both sides. Just kind of let you know stuff is coming up. And then into this long, graceful turn right here. Coming out of the turn, we're back in Mute City. And that final hairpin turn that Mute City is known for, it was just a touch of mastery to put the Sand Ocean hairpin in there. Okay, next track. I usually stay silent on the first lap, so we'll go for that. Alright, so welcome to Port Canyon. It is Port Town 2 plus Red Canyon 2. And you're seeing different track elements from different parts. I love how Zephyrim was able to weave in the land and the water, and especially this island right here, which I'm not quite feeling brave enough to take that shortcut. It's a very tricky shortcut to take if you want to cut the corner, because if you hold down on the first jump, you'll go too far. And if you don't hold down on the second jump, you won't go far enough. So it takes quite a bit of practice. I hear a guy perfect in my ear yelling at me for boosting through the pit zones. Nope, I didn't think I was going to make it. So this section down here, we're taking Port Town 2's curves and that narrow section, kind of doing a spiritual sequel or a recreation using portions of the Red Canyon tracks. I've never liked that narrow section, but I wanted to evoke the feel of it, so that was a good way to compromise and get that in there. Okay, here we go. Ah, just made it. Yeah, you can see that there's elements of Red Canyon 1 in here also. It's a really good way to bridge different sections of the track. And the Port Town skip that this track is famous for, I have not been able to pull it off. I don't think it's possible. And we're home free to the end. Okay, next track is the one that people in F-Zero Online Discord, that they saw this one first. This is the first track we created, Metal Forest. So this is where the hack all started from. I have been waiting for 2 years for F-Zero 99 to add the Forest and Metal Fort tracks, and I kind of gave up hope that they are there. Which means we're never going to see a mashup of those two. Decided that I was going to make it myself, so I just threw some stuff together in just a PNG file, just to get the idea out of my head and down onto something. And Zephyrim took that, put it into FZ Edit, and had the track done in like 1 to 2 days. And I was so thankful that I said, well, I guess you get to design a track now. He designed Port Canyon, and we worked on making that together. Once we had 2, what was 3 more? I am today playing the classic version of this hack. So there will be two different files released alongside this hack. One is F-Zero Max Classic, which uses the classic SNES boost system where you get one boost per lap. And there will also be F-Zero Max Modern, which uses your life energy to boost like you would in F-Zero 99. That is mainly based on some of the hacking that Fenner has done. He's been doing a lot with a community hack that's being put together right now, which will be a full 5 leagues. We've been able to use some of that code with their permission and have a version of this hack that's a little bit better for people coming straight out of F-Zero 99. So I love the boost pads right into that section of mines. It's kind of funny, every time I play this track, I either hit mines every time, or I don't hit them at all, and I have nothing in between. Yeah, industrialize the forest, the ground, being able to switch between those two, that was more than I ever expected. Alright, here we are with Deathstorm. Best named track ever. So obviously Deathstorm, or Deathwind 2 plus Sandstorm 2 is what makes up this track. We go into the section with Sandstorm signature hairpin turns, and this little 45-degree thing that's normally at the end of the track. This is a more difficult course than Deathwind 2, so we extended the pit zone by somewhere between 50 and 60%. Just making it so you get a little bit more health per lap. Exploding snails in beginner mode. What are we doing? This track was one of Zephyrum's requests. We originally had Deathwind Turnabout in this spot. Deathwind Turnabout was something that I made for Vintage Velocity 1 to fill in the missing spot on the Climax Platinum League, which was there for Rook League. But as we kind of looked at things, we said that there were really two different ways to do track remixes. One of them was to do the Climax style, where you're taking the course, which is either a mirror of itself or incorporating elements from two different courses in the same venue. And then you had the F-Zero 99 style, which was mixing two different venues together. We didn't want to put those two different remix styles in the same league. So we took out Deathwind Turnabout and added this one in. It was good. In my mind, second and beginner. In my mind, Deathwind Turnabout is linked to the Climax Platinum courses, so even though it's not official, it's official to me, and I want to kind of keep it with those four. Alright, let's look at the chat. Most difficult part was getting a good sky and good-looking globe. That was from Metal Forest, yes. Talking about the bigger project, which will be interesting. Yeah, there's 25 tracks in there. Some of them are new tracks within existing venues, and some of them are new ones. So we've got Volcania, Sulphur Swamp, Crystal Forest, which was one made by Fenner. It's going to be a pretty good hack. All right, last one. Oh yes, don't forget about Warp Sector. That's one of Zephyrum's tracks from the hack. And it's kind of funny, he takes advantage of the ability to go off the top of the screen and come back at the bottom. So you are warping around to different sides of the map, and the mini-map looks like it couldn't possibly work, but the track itself flows very well. Alright, so we are on White Fire, the last track on this hack. And it is pretty obviously Firefield plus elements of Whiteland 1 and 2. So in trying to make F-Zero 99 style tracks as opposed to Climax style tracks, there's stylistic differences between the two of them. And F-Zero 99 tends to use one track as its main basis and then add in elements from another one. So it takes the flow and the general shape of one track. And then adds in familiar elements. So with Firefield and Whiteland, we decided to go with Firefield as the main one. And each of the tracks, if you watch back through, has one particular track that it's based on. But this one was fun. The general shape is the same, but we actually relocated most of the pieces of this track, except for that starting straightaway, in order to have enough physical room to put in some of the Whiteland elements. Now, you told me to check comments on between tracks and on straightaways, but this straightaway is very dangerous. So whatever's going on in the comment section right now, I'll get to you guys in a minute. Really love the palette work done on the background in this one. Our Whiteland 1 corner. So much more room to move around here than there is on the small Game Boy Advance recreation of this track. So with the Whiteland tracks, one of the things you would expect is that big jump in the middle. Didn't want to include that, partly because current White Wind track that's on F-Zero 99 uses that jump as one of its main features. And partly because I didn't want to just throw everything in the kitchen sink at each track. So jumps, magnets, downpulls, mines, trying to limit what shows up in each track so that it doesn't feel like everything's the same. All right, let's go back. Warp Sector, the game is absolutely not meant to do this. Yeah, it's pretty trippy. Okay, looks like we might have to do some color work on this. Glad we caught that in the stream. We'll get that before we release it. And we'll go for a little bit after we get through this credit scene. We'll load up the modern one just so you can see some of the differences. Okay, let's load the game for the modern version. And we'll do Goose. We'll stay on beginner because I still am not that great. Okay, you can see that boosts are gone from the bottom right. They're in the top. Once we finish one lap, we'll be able to go through. Okay, and now it's lit up. You can see that boosting is taking our health. Now, Zephyrim, do you know, does this also offset the amount of health you regain from pits? In F-Zero 99, you gain health a lot faster to offset using health to boost. Let's check. No, it doesn't seem like health is being regained faster than normal. Yeah, so F-Zero 99 changes a couple things. It makes health regain faster, but you also start regaining health the moment you touch the pit zone, even if the animation for the UFO doesn't come in until a second or two later. Vanilla health regen, okay. Yeah, something we may want to test as we are going into the final release. We're hoping that this is going to be released sometime within the next couple of days. We're just finishing up the documentation and screenshots and doing the submission to romhacking.net and also RomHack Plaza. RomHack Plaza was one of the early adopters, so it allows me to post new hacks without having to go through the normal verification process. I'm a trusted uploader and can just do things, which is convenient when trying to release something on a certain schedule. Alright, so that is F-Zero Max League. We'll stop there. Thanks, guys, for joining. Hope you enjoyed it. And as I said, look forward to this hack within the next couple of days. Have a good one.